Hey everybody, in today's video what we're going to focus on are top 10 stocks to short. Based upon the market, we're going to just mix things up a little bit this Saturday. Usually when we put this list out, it's top 10 stocks to buy and there's some others that are mixed in there. But based upon the current situation that I see out there, I see more advantageous ways to make money on the short side than I do on the long right now. So we're going to cover this. And we're going to cover it in detail. And one of the things we're going to talk about to start off with is a couple just key factors. What is short selling? And there are three things that you must know before you even consider short selling for those that are new to this. So very simply, short selling is just a strategy where you're speculating on the decline of a stock or security price. That's all you're doing, okay? You really should have a deep understanding of this before you start. So when you short sell, you're speculating on the price dropping, okay? Some people will use this as a hedge. If they're long another position, they'll short another position. In today's video, we're just going to talk about stocks that, frankly, we think are going to go down and that we're going to benefit from the price of that, okay? So three things that you need to know that are important. Number one, you never short into weakness, ever, okay? And I'm going to walk you through an example. Here on Moderna was one that we put a short position on as soon as we broke the 50. And this was a relatively simple way to do this, okay? So once you short here and we start dropping, you just let it develop, right? But now you start getting these exhaustion gaps down, okay? This is weakness, and you can identify this weakness by just simply looking at RSI and going, wow, this is really weak. The reason you don't short here is because you're setting up for a snapback rally. When that snapback rally is, you don't know. It could take weeks, but as you can see here, that's exactly what happened. Okay, so what you're looking for, again, the exact opposite. Never short into weakness, always short into strength, but wait for a pattern to develop. Here was a very simple pattern. We got over the 50-day. Okay, for those that haven't watched that RSI video or that candlestick video, I've done two of them. I'd recommend that you watch both of them. I'll link them at the end. So you can see how you reversed here. For people that know, this was somewhat of a pretty sloppy evening star, but this reversal and break here gave us a signal, and then we saw how it was reacting with the 50. So it gave us another opportunity to short. But you really got to be careful here about shorting into weakness. Classic example, a lot of people are looking at DocuSign right now and looking to short it. The argument would be as to why not to do that is because I'm at a 13 or 12 on the RSI. So the chances of this getting a snapback, the deeper this goes, the greater the chances of a snapback. And that's what you need to be aware of. So never short into weakness, okay? Always, number two, always use stop losses. And I'll go back to this example. And you know what? Let me give you another example of one that we shorted before. So just to give you an example of this, you always must use stop losses. So for me, this is something that I've been short, been talking about since up here when we first broke the 50-day. But you must use a stop loss because theoretically you could lose everything. Right, the losses can be unlimited because the stock theoretically can go up forever. So what you need to do is focus on where's my stop loss before you even put this trade on. Frankly, you should be doing it with your longs too, but you most certainly must do it with your shorts because it can get ugly. So something like this, mine was, if I break here, my absolute drop dead short or cover was if I close above the 50. Okay, and then you can just put it on when it breaks the 50, right? And if it closes above it, you close it again, right? So you're constantly taking money out. And that leads us to our next one, okay? You must always lock in gains by either trimming or selling the whole position when it sells off. When you start to see ultra weakness, you need to be getting out. Okay, you need to be getting out and locking in gains. Because what happens, and let's go back to this one, what happens is, it's not an if, it's a when on when you're going to snap back. So in regards to this, we're breaking down here, and you're low on your RSI, but it's not awful, but when you start seeing gaps like this, okay, this is the exact opposite of what you want to see if you're long, right? Because you're seeing exhaustion gaps, just like you would see on the upside, right? If you saw this on the upside. But with these kinds of gaps, after you have two of them, you know you're pretty much exhausted. You should know that. If you don't, now you do. But after you see two gap downs, you're exhausted either to the upside or the downside. Once you see something like this, and this fits in with the first principle of never short into weakness, you need to start thinking about locking some or all of that position in, because eventually it's going to snap back, especially if the short is crowded. And in the environment you're in right now, before the selling, if the selling continues, before this ends, it's going to be a very crowded playing field. So with that in mind, let's jump into the top 10 stocks to short for next week. These are short-term ideas, and I'd recommend that you watch those 3 points again. As always, subscribe to this channel and click notifications, because what we go over is extremely timely. You're not going to want to learn this or hear about these stocks in a week or two, because the moves will be over. So let's just start with it. So the very first one that we're going to look at is Tesla. This is a relatively simple idea, and all these ideas are going to be relatively simple for people to understand. But let's just talk about what's going on here, okay? And we are looking for trades. That's all we're looking for. We're not making macro decisions about the stock and the company. We're simply saying that this is setting up potentially for weakness. And I just want to point this out. If you took a look at the selling that you saw the other day on this, here's your line, okay? If you break this line, okay, to me, it's a short. You are easily going to go down and test this 50-day. Hopefully you hold the 50-day at that point. But I just want to point some things out on this RSI, and I'm going to do an advanced RSI video shortly. But you see how you broke the 50 line? Okay, that doesn't happen. Okay, and when it does, you better darn pop back over it pretty soon, because that means that you're heading to oversold conditions. Oversold conditions means stocks going down. That's theoretically what it means. So when you see this, you want to take advantage of it. Now, that move may not look like much that happened the other day, but it was very telling. Okay, so when we sell down in the markets, and it really becomes a sheer sell down, everything sells off. Okay, even the top names will sell down. So you're going to have to short here and then look and see how it responds to this level. Okay, if you get a bounce, and talking about not shorting into weakness, if you get a bounce, watch how it responds to the top end of this level. Okay, if you see a bounce. All right, because that may provide another spot as well. That's bouncing back up to this and not breaking through the high is not going to be a signal to go long. Okay, that's not the type of environment you're in right now. You need to get over that high and close over that high. And if you can see what happened on Thursday and Friday, we had a heck of a time doing that across the board. So this is what I would focus on, and that's the line that I would use. You're going to watch this line. I think if you break this, you're just going to fill the gap and come down to 911, and then we can kind of focus on what to do there. Mara. So you're seeing a lot of action today in Bitcoin and the other crypto names. And just to touch base on this, that is a pretty substantial drop that happened in Bitcoin today. I have a saying, it can always get worse. So if that continues to get worse, these kinds of names will get decimated. And I mean decimated. And you're getting an opportunity here. You're getting an opportunity in a name that you haven't had in years. Okay, so just to put this in perspective, all right, this was the last great Bitcoin rally. All right, this is where you came to. Okay, you were a $6 stock. Then Bitcoin started picking up again, right? And then this started moving predicated upon it. If you look at this monthly, this is a complete blow off shooting star on the monthly, and you just broke. Okay, theoretically, when you do something like this, the move is to go to at least here. Okay, now if you look at this on the daily, all we're looking for, very simply, on the daily is to get to here. Okay, break that, short, and this is your level. Now, that's your level. Now, let me just point this out as well. Okay, this is your trend line. Okay, now let's get rid of these lines for a moment so you can see this very clearly. Here's your trend line. This is a rising wedge. You break this rising wedge, okay, this is the level you could get to. This could really sell down, and it could sell down very fast. Asan. Now, Asan broke down, and this one you're going to have to make sure that it breaks before you get involved with it. If it doesn't break, you're going to have to hold off on this. So the quarter wasn't great, and the stock sold down. While this is weak and far off the 50-day, the amount of volume and selling that came in was staggering. And we just broke the 30, right? We're just starting that break. So that's important distinction. Now, all we're looking for is a lower low. And people that have seen this position before will recognize this trade. So if you either follow me in the mornings or you're part of the trading community, I'll give you examples of this that have worked perfectly. And when people thought that this move was over, okay? This is where you could have shorted if it broke right here on Snap, right? And there's 25% without blinking an eye. So most money's made when people aren't talking about the stocks, just FYI, right? People aren't talking about this anymore, right? Look at the money that was made. Okay, from that break, 15 points. So over 30%. Same thing can happen here, okay? From where you're broken, you are below your fib levels and you're below any support level. Your next level is $53. So you can see 10 points here by breaking that level. BABA. Now, we have been short this. It is way oversold, but I think that this is going to break. And I just want to point this out, okay? We have been short this for some time. Caveat, I already have a short position on. I'm getting ready to add to that short position. I did not add to it yet during this whole breakdown, except I think it was like 140 or 145. I'm just staying where I'm staying with it. But this is getting to the point. See this line right here? Okay. This is major all-time support you're sitting on. Your trigger is going to be 1056. And that day that you short it, you're going to want to make sure that you are below that at the end of the day. You might want to listen to that again. I'll just say it again. You might want to make sure that at the end of the day you are below that 1056. Okay, because if you're not below that 110.56, as we just talked about, these snapbacks can happen, right? So you're going to just have to watch that. I'm not interested in this 108. Just get me under 110.56 and close below there, and I will continue with the short position. So you're in a situation that I'll explain a little bit of this because there's a couple names in here that are China-based names. But you have to understand something. You cannot fight a government regulation. Okay, you can change government regulation through changing the government. Okay, the probability of that happening in something like the United States is great, right? We know corporations elect people all the time or want certain people that meet their criteria or that's going to help their industry. We know that. In China, it doesn't work that way. So what you're seeing what I'm going to refer to as the great delisting, okay? These companies, in my opinion, are all going to be delisted, okay? The U.S. is tightening their restrictions and demanding audited financials at the same standard as every other company that is listed from the world on the U.S. Stock Exchange, right? It's a privilege to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange because of the amount of money that flows into it. China does not allow this, okay? And this is why you just saw one company that we're going to cover in a moment just say, hey, we're going to delist. Let's just talk a moment about what delist means. Delist means you're going to remove it from the New York Stock Exchange. It will no longer be on an exchange. It could be on the Hang Seng or it could be on the Shanghai. I don't know where they're going to list these stocks. What I do know, okay, because there's groups of them, so you don't know exactly where they're all going to list. What I do know is that if you are a hedge fund or you are an institutional investor and you are long this and your charter does not let you own companies that are listed on other exchanges and you're a US based fund, you're going to sell these names. You have to get out. Okay, you can't hold them when they go onto other exchanges. It doesn't fit your charter. So that's going to add to it. The second thing that's going to add to these names being sold down, okay, is the fact that people are not going to want to go over there and then figure out how to hedge currency risk, right? So this is going to lead to an exodus of institutions of all these names. So the goal is to find the names that are going to get hit the worst, because they're all these kinds of names, they're going to come in. This is going to be like a once in a couple decade kind of move that you're going to see on these names, in my opinion. And I don't think people are fully grasping the concept yet of what it means when they delist. Okay, not everybody's going to want to own a stock where they have to hedge currency risk and they have no access to it from a US stock exchange. They're just going to go on to the next, they're going to go look for the next Nvidia or something. It doesn't matter. So when people are talking about financials and the stock's trading at one-time book, or they have a great service department, or this is what they do, it doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. So that's a long answer to this, but we're going to get into the other names. But all you're looking for this is the exact level that I gave you, and I'll point out it again since I ranted there a little bit. 1056. That's what you're looking for. And let's just go through the other two names that are in this space that you need to take a look at. Okay, so all of these companies, and I'm going to say it again, okay, all of these companies are going to delist. It's not going to be one, it's going to be all of them. It doesn't mean it's going to happen in a day, but none of these companies are going to be allowed to give audited financials. Okay, the government made it very clear, Chinese government made very clear this week, they are not going to allow it to happen. So no matter what rumors you're hearing, no matter what you think you know, this is what's going to happen. It's just a question of how you can profit from it, okay? So let's just talk about this. As soon as you break this 50-day, and that's why this one's attractive. I know the other names as well are going to sell down, but this one's attractive because you're just starting. So all I'm looking for is 42.78, okay? If you break 42.78 on XPEV, and then you're going to have to watch this level and see how you react to that, okay? Once you get to that level and you get down there, then you can focus on this, right? Look how that just kind of lines up perfectly, okay? Look what we just did here. Again, I strongly recommend you watch the RSI video I link at the end of this. But what just happened here? We just broke the 50 line. See that trend line? Okay, so these are, RSI is one of only a couple leading indicators, okay? This is telling you what's going to happen. And you can already see that it's starting to happen. 42.78. And finally in this space, DIDI. So they're going to be the first that are going to delist. And they announced this Friday that yes, we're going to comply, we're going to delist. Frankly, these companies don't have a choice but to comply if they want to operate. There's no other alternative, right? So they're going to have to comply. This is simple. You break $6 here, very simple trade. This is going lower, okay? Make sure that by the end of the day, if you're short this, you're over the $6 because it can bounce. It can bounce and retest this high, but it's not going to get above this $7.5, $8. It's just simply not going to happen. So what you're looking for, unless China just comes out and buys the entire company, which they have no reason to do, right? So break 6, and then we should see more pressure on the name, okay? UPST was in the top 5 at 5 this week as a short, and I can show you where we shorted it the first time. That was right here, okay? Rising wedge. Right, and you break that rising wedge. When you break a rising wedge, same with a falling wedge, you just go to the entry point, and that tells you exactly where your first target should be. And then you can see how it reacts to that. This one reacted by slicing through it like tissue paper, coming right to the 200-day, holding the 200-day, forming a hammer, right, and then pulling the flim-flam, as we refer to it, right, where they gap you open, where they get all that chum and they get all those people to jump in there, And that's exactly what happened. And then they just lay down the hammer. Okay, and then they close it below the 200-day. So just to put this in perspective so you understand, we're not talking about the corporation. We're not talking about, is it a great corporation or not? Okay, we're talking about depreciation of a stock price. Please keep that in mind. There's a huge, huge difference. If you want to own long-term as something drops, that's a completely different conversation. We're looking for short-term trades and to increase our equity curve. So 167.67 is what you're looking for. If you break that, just to put this in perspective, let's just look at a couple things. Okay, this is 156, right there. You're going to have to watch that level, okay? If you break this level, you're setting up to go to here and fill in this gap, okay? You can see right here how it fits perfectly on that line. It's not a coincidence. 137.37 is where your target would be. Please share this video, especially this video. This is really important for people to understand what's going on out there. And please comment on what other educational videos that you'd like to see. Also, please show me other ideas that you're interested in possibly shorting. I'm kind of curious to see where people's heads are right now. Affirm. So people will look at this and say, okay, we've already ran, broke the 50, came back down, but look at this, right? For those that watch that 3 candlestick video, you'll recognize this, right? I mean, it's almost a perfect, bearish hook reversal, right? So now you're in a position where you're sitting and just testing this level of 103. And you can see that, right? Where 103.84 was the close. All you're looking for is a break of 183. Where can this go? Well, this trajectory tried to rally here, didn't, right? Pulled back down and still is not grossly oversold yet. So this has a lot of room to drop, but you have some resistance points. So why 103 is our pivot point? Okay, once you get to 103, you're going to want to watch this level right here, this 89 level, but also look at this. You're going to want to watch this level if it gets down here. Because if you break that 86.76, you could fill the gap and come into the 70s. That can happen. So the next two are, again, short-term trading ideas. So this was something that broke out, looked like it was going to go. Frankly, I had a long position on this Friday, and it just did not work at all, right? To say the least. And everybody's aware of that. It was a quick trade that just turned into something that just sold down all day. The issue with TNA is the triple 3X ETF for IWM. Okay, IWM is the Russell 2000. Okay, the issue that you can see both here and in TNA is that I have completely encapsulated this bar. Okay, what does that mean? By encapsulation of that bar with a red bar, okay, you have negated what was once here was trying to be a bullish harami. It's not perfectly technical, but it's there. And now you have a bearish engulfing sitting right there. Okay, this is not what you want to see. The fact that this popped back over and then reversed is not what you want to see. So this is a really very simple trade, and you're going to have a tight stop because this is pretty wild. But 74.22, if you break 74.22, you're slicing through major support. And I'm just going to just walk you through this again because it's important for you to understand how that support coincides with the index. Okay, this is a line that every single time has been bought. Okay, the time that it's not bought, it's broken. And this is kind of setting up for one of those times. We've never had a pattern like this ever on this line that represented anything remotely like the pattern that you're sitting on right now. Okay, you've never been like this. You've never come over the 30 and then rejected like you have on this line. So this is setting up for a break now after Friday's action. Finally, TQQ. This is a very, again, simple trade. Okay, I'm not saying that we're in a bear market. I'm saying that while we're in this environment, our goal as investors is to make money. And buying that on the long side right now, buying the Qs on the long side right now is not the answer. So I understand that down here is 144. You don't need to wait for that. What you could do is simply wait until you break. See how you closed right on that 50? Let's look at that. See how you broke right on that 50? All you want to do from here, okay, is just get below that line again. And you can actually use the close, 150, okay? So if you get below that close, put the trade on. But then if you wind up closing above that at the end of the day, just get out of the way, because they can always bounce back, but this has got a lot of work to do now, a lot of work to do, and you can see it from here. But I think you're going to break there, keep going. Just to put this in perspective, okay, this is the last time we broke the 50, right? So if you take a look at the last time we broke the 50, what happened? Let's just put that in perspective so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, this was the day it happened. Okay, and so there you saw about an 18% move the last time that this happened, where it broke this line. Just to kind of put in perspective what could happen here. So that's it. 10 stocks to take a look at to short. I understand this is an extremely strong concept that a lot of people are going to have to wrap their heads around. So if you have questions, please reach out. Please watch these other videos. They talk about RSI, some of the points I just went over. They talk about candlestick patterns, which are really important. Okay, should be a major focus for everybody that's a trader. Okay, and also watch how we draw support and resistance lines so you learn how to do it the right way. That's it, everybody. Have a great day. Trade sharp.